All right. This time, really am going to come back here and go over the anatomy of our friend here with the 3 spindly fingers that looks 100%, not 99, 100% like it was depicted in the movie E.T. by Steven Spielberg. And I'll be going over some of the anatomical features, including the ribs. If you notice the ribs, especially when you hit the sweet spot with the lighting, the ribs go all the way down to the pelvis. Humans only have like 9 ribs. These guys have ribs from the top to bottom of their spine on every vertebrae, like a snake. They also have a singular bone where we have 2 bones at the radius and the ulna and the tibia and the fibula in their forearm and in their shin bones. So we'll be coming back to that. But first, to the tree of knowledge we go.
Hi everyone. I decided today I was going to end up combining 2 of my videos together to make one. I was out walking the other day and filmed that I had 2 shadows, and not just me, but other people that were around me, which proves that there are more than one light source in the sky. I was watching Martin Lika today, and he was talking about the suns and that they have been filming 2 suns. So I thought, how befitting that I went out walking yesterday and I filmed 2 shadows. So I guess I'm going to combine this for an introduction to what I filmed yesterday. So I hope everyone enjoys the 2 shadows. It's not a very long video. It was just to make a point that yesterday, for some reason, we had 2 shadows going on. I'd been walking around there for quite a while, and I had never noticed double shadows. But so something was going on yesterday, and I'm sure it was to do with the experiments for a secondary light source. Other than that, why wouldn't I have seen that before? So I had just been talking to my neighbor Al, and he thinks it's atmospheric rain drops in the air. So he had to admit, too, that he hadn't seen that double shadow thing going on either. So enough of me prattling on, and enjoy the little video. Have a great day. Okay, now I finally got it. I had to disconnect from... Look at this. There's a shadow here, the dark one, and there's a shadow above it. So when I'm walking, I've got a double shadow, which is completely impossible, except for...
I'm just going to let it roll for a minute. It's only about another minute, but the people who walk by, like the person that just walked by, it illustrates the extra shadow better than her, because when she starts moving, so is the grass within her field of view. But what it is the dark shadow of her right here, and then a faint shadow up above. I don't know why she's got it split screen, but there's the top of her head shadow in the dark shadow, and then a faint shadow up above. I'm going to rewind it just a sec so you can watch that guy walk by again, and then someone else rides by on a bike. And you can see that everyone does indeed have 2 shadows. And the first thing that occurred to me when I saw this is that a hologram is created by 2 different sources of light being directed towards that same focal point. That's how they create a 3-dimensional hologram, is with 2 light sources that creates something like this. That's why when you go to the movies and you do a 3-dimensional movie, a 3D movie, you put on those red and blue glasses, and when you take them off, it looks something like this, like a silhouette of the image you're looking at. You've all seen it, the 3D movie, where you take off the red and blue glasses and it goes from 3D to a 2-dimensional image with a double print, like 2 light sources casting 2 shadows of 1 object. So watch for the 2 people that go by. Actually, there's 3 or 4 that go by, and every one of them has a second shadow.
Okay, now I finally got it. I had to disconnect from... Look at this. There's a shadow here, the dark one, and there's a shadow above it. So when I'm walking, I've got a double shadow, which is completely impossible, except for there's more than 1 lighting source.
Here comes a couple more.
What in the world? How is that right? Look, I've got a complete double shadow. Look, everyone that passes me has a double shadow too. I'll go over here, and you can see it on the grass. There's a double shadow. Here come some people, and I'm just going to film. Yep. Their shadows go all the way up to the fence line. It's the craziest thing. I've got a double shadow going on. It's crazy. It's a double shadow. You can see it walking with me. I'll go back a little bit. Oh my God, the further I go back, the higher the shadow goes on top. Okay, that's seriously weird. So that should be enough so you can see the double shadow. And they got double shadows too as they're walking. So it's not just me.
Link will be in the description. So here's just a still frame from many such examples that John Keane, Best Damn Podcast, put into one of his videos a week or so ago, and then I'm going to show you what he did yesterday or the day before that shows this same phenomenon happening again over and over and over, but not in still frame. I'll let the video play, and you can see that it's not a lens flare. There's another still frame version of it, again, still frame from one of the videos he did the other day.
Absolutely crazy. And then check this out, man. This is another one. Planet X by night. Let me give some sound. Hopefully there's a real shitty music to go with it. Look at that. I don't know if that's supposed to be the moon.
So all he's showing here is just another fireball. I saw 3 of these in my front yard last night. They weren't this big, but they have to do with the second sun as well. And then he's going to show us another example of another second sun.
Never in my lifetime. Yet, somehow this is all supposed to be normal now.
I saw 3 of them last night.
Cloud.
It is normal.
That cloud is not blocking out shit. You can still see it exploding.
Mine wasn't that big. I saw 3 of them, though. Wow. Those green fireballs. 3 from my front yard.
Very crazy.
Last night.
And
those asteroids came in with the second sun, with this second solar system, with all of its planetary bodies. It also brings asteroids.
Same old, right?
Let me turn that down so I can hear myself babble.
Remember how the cauldron says that the skies would be like amber and gold, and I believe the Lost Book of Inky even talks about the same thing. There's quite a few prophecies that talks about how we would see the skies turn, like an amber golden color. That Planet X would give off that glow, not just the reddish, hue that we see. Look at that, plain as day. That's another object sitting next to the sun. That's not a lens flare. I know some YouTubers that claim everything that's not their picture is a lens flare.
You can see the lens flare. You can see 2 lens flares. You can see the
red dust in the air too, by the way. It's still got the reddish tint.
When he goes back, you can literally see, you can see the lens flare move as the camera sweeps across, except you can see 2 lens flares. I'll try and pause it right where you can see both lens flares from both of the light sources, which is what would create 2 shadows.
Just right there on the horizon, you can see like that amberish golden looking.
You can see a pair of boobies right there in the middle. 1 lens flare right here, the pink circle with the yellow dot in the middle. 1 lens flare right here, the pink circle with the yellow dot in the middle. Are you seeing it? Those 2, as the camera moves right and left, those 2 go right and left, and they're only here visible when you're looking directly at the light source. As soon as the camera moves, those 2 lens flares will move.
Color, like a copper hue. And that's what I believe it's
2 lens flares, baby.
In the cauldron.
That is straight up proof.
Look at that, dude. Jesus, man. One of those gets to be the sun. Am I right? One of those gets to be the sun. And damn.
What else can you say?
See, He's looking for an orb.
I'm surprised John
sometimes
didn't point out
also
the two
around
lens
it.
flares.
Wow.
Because you can see both lens
That
flares,
is
which
insane.
proves two light
That is
sources.
quite a catch. Quite a catch.
And so what we're about to watch is also probably an effect of this arrival of the Planet X system, which will lead us back to the beginning of this video by building the case that we are desperately in need of some
Good stuff.
stranger's hand in a desperate
I
land.
have no clue what this is. This is the ground. I think this is India or something like that.
Link will be in the description.
Wow.
Hold on, what? There we go.
Wow.
He paused it to say wow and interject that commentary. I will, however, pause it right about here. You guys should pause it yourself. Link will be in the description. This is at 1 minute, 27 seconds. And there's some spots where you can pause it and see this ground is so broken up. It's unlike anything I've ever seen.
And I just, man, you know what's so weird about this?
Tell us, what's
I
weird,
had a
John?
dream of a giant planet in the sky, and the ground was just like this. I mean, it was cracking and opening up like everywhere. I mean,
Whoa, like right there. There's a few spots in here where you can see it is just Swiss cheese beneath their feet.
where people were
Liquefaction or
I mean,
liquefaction.
people were falling in. I mean, every building just crumbled.
Crustal
like sand.
displacement.
And to see this in real life, this is something else. Look how fucking torn up that place is. That is insane. I think it's India or Indonesia, I want to say. Sorry, I don't read whatever language they had on the video. Look at that, dude. Look at that.
Yeah.
And if this isn't your signs and wonders, I don't know what the fuck is, man. That this is crustal displacement. You know, the earth is showing you something's up. You know, it's sick. It's sick. The sun is too, by the way. The sun is showing you it's sick.
Which one?
Something is happening.
Which sun?
A process is taking place. And this is something that's happened more than one time here. Most definitely. And if we look at the fact our species has amnesia and we don't know shit about our history for real, and nothing is really as old or as young as we think it is. We think everything is dated perfectly according to religions. I mean, and it just don't fit. None of the puzzle pieces fit. Shit like this is why. If the entire world goes through these kind of things, you know, it would make sense. We would lose our history, you know, and the few things that survive, the few relics that survive, you know, are misinterpreted. Like we think there's something else that they're not. And because we lost our spiritual understanding, you know, we think it's about some whole other shit. Look at the Great Pyramid and them thinking it's a burial tomb. You know, just dumb shit like that. Just crazy. Look at that. That is so intense. I can't imagine how terrified these people were. Honestly.
All right. Now, this is also from one of John Keen's previous videos over there at Best Damn Podcast. And they're talking about EMPs, and I saw something that occurred to me could be the explanation for why we see such a disparity between the places that have lots of plasma fire and the places that don't. Why is it not evenly distributed? This may be the key. The team focused their attention on eastern mid-continental USA, a region bracketed by St. Louis, Missouri, and Memphis, and Tennessee. Between 2016 and 2019, the USGS conducted a magnetologic survey of the area, so the data are fresh. The terrain is remarkable for its mix of rock types. Underneath it all is a layer of Precambrian basement rock, which is electrically resistive. This is overlain by differing depths of younger, electrically conductive sedimentary rock. Notable features include the Ozark Dome, where the sedimentary layer is thin, and the Reelfoot Rift, which is deeply filled with sedimentary rock. And that sedimentary rock is conductive to electricity, and the Precambrian basement rock is electrically resistive. And they just told you the places that are going to get hit hardest and hit least. The Ozark Dome, where the sedimentary layer is thin, that's not as much electrically conductive rock, probably gets less plasma fire than the Reelfoot Rift, which is deeply filled with sedimentary rock, which is the electrically conductive rock. I could have got that backwards in my babbling, but you get it. Now, before we get back to our space brother, who presumably has the beam in his eye, this was the title and thumbnail for a video done by MB3 the other day, where he says there is no escaping this. It affects us all. And he's talking about the Schumann resonance in that video. I'll include the link in the description. And in Greg Braden's videos, Awakening to Zero Point and Beyond Zero Point, the Collective Initiation, he talks about how this Schumann cavity resonance will rise. 0 point in the title refers to 0 point magnetics. And in that same video series, he is talking about how 0 point magnetics will be reached at about the same time when we hit the next number in the Fibonacci sequence. From 8, it was always 7.8. The Schumann cavity resonance was always about 8 beats per second. The next number in the Schumann cavity resonance is 13. And he presumed, it was his assumption 22 years ago, when he said, when we reach 0 point magnetics, the Schumann cavity resonance will continue rising and rising and rising. And he predicted that it would be at about 13 beats per second when we reach 0 point magnetics, and that we would all go through a phase transition. A phase transition. And he talked about the 7-layer liquid crystal oscillator in your chest. That is your heart. And he showed you how when you put two frequencies together, an interference pattern, it creates something like a heartbeat. When you inject two overlapping frequencies into a media, whether it's whatever the media is, mold spores, sand, liquid crystal. And he spoke of how we would be going through this phase transition, and that it is emotion that is the only reason we don't just resonate with the earth naturally and allow our vibration to rise and always be synchronized, synced up with the earth. But when someone put out this video today talking about a phase transition in liquid crystals, it reminded me that's what Braden said we would be going through, and that our bodies would change very quickly. And he referred to a phase transition, and he described it using the most common element we know, water. When water goes from ice to liquid, it raises its vibratory frequency until it goes from solid to liquid, from ice to water. And then if you raise the vibratory frequency even more, it goes from water to steam. And he also showed us through cymatics that as the frequency increases, the patterns become more complex. when you're injecting a frequency into a media, whether it's mold spores or the human 7-layer liquid crystal oscillator known as our heart, or this entire reality, as the frequency increases, the patterns become more complex. When you're projecting a sound frequency into a media, it produces a pattern. Like this. And as the frequency increases, the patterns become more complex. And so our frequency is increasing. We can expect a phase transition. And our heart is, in fact, made out of liquid crystalline structure. Oh, I was a little bit out of frame there. Liquid crystalline structure. And so that all came to mind today when I saw that. And this phase separation pattern might be what we're seeing happen right now. As the frequency increases, we separate into two different patterns and express ourselves very differently, be it in physical or mental and emotional ways. The patterns that life takes, the patterns that life expresses itself through, become more and more complex as the frequency increases. And right now, we're in the phase separation pattern as that phase transition is happening. So none of this is out of control. It's all perfectly well within the range of expectation. We knew this was coming. Jack Johnson wrote a song about it called All at Once. All at once, the world can overwhelm me. There's almost nothing that you could tell me that could ease my mind. Which way will you run when it's always all around you? And the feeling lost and found you again. The feeling that we have no control around our sun, some say is gonna be the new hell. Some say it's still too early to tell. Some say it really ain't no myth at all. Keep asking ourselves, are we really strong enough? And there's so many things that we got too proud of. We're too proud of. I want to take the preconceived out from underneath your feet. We can shake it off and instead we'll plant some seeds. Watch them as they grow, and with each new beat from your heart the roots grow deeper. The branches, will they reach for what? Nobody really knows. But underneath it all, there's this heart alone. And what about when it's gone? Oh, it really won't be so long. Sometimes it feels like a heart is no place to be singing from it all. But there's a world we've never seen. There's still hope between the dreams. And the weight of it all can blow away with the breeze. If you're waiting on that wind, well, don't forget to breathe, 'cause as the darkness gets deeper, we'll sink until we reach for love, at least something we can hold. And I'll reach to you from where time just can't go. But what about when it's gone? Oh, it really won't be so long. Sometimes it feels like a heart is no place to be singing from it all. So this is how we take the preconceived out from underneath your feet. I'll tell you what I know about these. The video is no longer available on YouTube. You got to go to Gaia.com. But when I saw it, and it was available on YouTube, the things they pointed out is, one, this isn't a one-off, which might make it a genetic mutation. There was multiple skeletons found just like this, which means it's a species of beings, because they all have exactly the same, air quotes, genetic mutations. That means they're not genetic mutations. It's a species of beings. Okay, so there's multiple skeletons exactly like this. It's a species. A few things they pointed out is that they have ribs that go all the way down their spine. We only have 9 ribs, and our ribs stop right about there. Their ribs go clear down to the pelvis. As you can see, the eggs in the abdomen. We'll talk about that in a minute. They also said the radius and the ulna of the forearm on a human being is 2 bones, a radius and an ulna. On these beings, it's only 1 bone. Likewise, on the shin bone. In a human being, we have 2 bones there called the tibia and the fibula. That's right there in the shin bone. In these guys, it's just a single bone. Here and here. They also talked about the skin being leathery, like a reptile. And I watched the doctors that were taking these x-rays, going over them, explaining it to you. But the bottom line is, those facial features on these guys is exactly like what we saw on the movie E.T., portrayed by Steven Spielberg. Exactly. So I don't have a subscription to Gaia TV, or I would go get the video for you. But when that video wasn't just on Gaia TV, when it was on YouTube and available for anyone to watch, I watched it. These guys look exactly like E.T. That tells me Steven Spielberg wasn't just making stuff up with a vivid imagination. This has been in the works for a long time. It is a cycle we go through often enough. We don't know how often, but this ain't the first time it's ever happened. I'll tell you that for sure. So some of the other features are that they have reptile-like skin. 2 small slits in the nose. I think they said they don't have much ears, but bottom line is these are reptilians. So you can, lizard people are real. That's what I'm telling you here. So you need to take the preconceived out from underneath your feet, shake it off, and instead we'll plant some seeds. Otherwise, that stuff coming from your heart is not going to serve you well. So someone said the other day, you better not jump on this bandwagon where you start worshiping aliens. I said, no, I'm not worshiping aliens. I'm trying to get other people to not retaliate with condemnation prior to investigation. Because we have been kept in the dark about this and told to fear them and retaliate and fight against them like they are the devil incarnate with every last fiber of our being, because that is the Satan, the serpent. And the fact that we've been kept in the dark by the institutions, from the church to the government to the scientific institutions, means you need to let all of that go. You try and hang on to a little bit here and there piecemeal. Well, the Bible's still good. Okay. You follow your BioBot transceiver programming manual and you respond exactly as prescribed by that book and see what happens. I'm going to just turn the lighting up and down here a little bit, because when you hit the right spot, it kind of hits a sweet spot where you can see the facial features. But there's a song called Renegades. All hail the outlaws, Spielbergs and Kubricks. The link will be in the description for that song. It's our time to make a move. It's our time to make amends. It's our time to break the rules. Let's begin. I say hey, 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 hey. Living like we're renegades. All hail the underdogs. These are exactly what was portrayed by Spielberg in the movie E.T. It's nothing new. So yeah, they're gonna give you blue space chickens and it's gonna be a suppository, but that don't mean there's no such thing and it's all just holograms, Project Bluebeam, and the government trying to get me to believe in aliens. You know how much Christian dogma there is out there now saying there's no such thing as aliens. There's only interdimensional, not extraterrestrial. There's only fallen angels, not aliens, because they're afraid you might extend some compassion. The reason they're so adamant that you call them interdimensional, not extraterrestrial, fallen angels, not aliens, is because if they can get you to declare them as evil, whatever you label as evil gives everyone license to withdraw all compassion from. That's why it matters so much to them. It's semantics, a small word difference, but it makes all the difference in the outcome and the result of what's about to go down here by making sure you know there is no such thing as aliens, only fallen angels, which are demonic, satanic, Luciferian, demon-possessed, maybe with a little flesh and bone on top, but mostly just demonic, satanic, Luciferian. You're gonna fall for the false light of Lucifer. You better let that shit go. It's fucked you up and it's fucked this society up long enough that if you don't see it's time to let it go, then you need to be done away with. And it hurts to set you free, but you'll never follow me, because this is the end of our elaborate plans, my friend. Meet me on the back of the blue bus. And don't worry about where we're going. Driver, where are you taking us? Well, you find out. Or you can join the dumbasses who think they know something, because no one gets on board thinking they know something. And everyone around here thinks they know a lot more than they really do. They've been indoctrinated in a cult on the Jim Jones Island. And I told you, there are forces about to breach the perimeter. But first, they sent messengers to try to talk to the people and let you know Jim has you brainwashed. And when you break people out of a cult, they have to be reintroduced to society, reacclimated to the real world, re-educated. That's what we've been, on an island prison. You want to keep going by the rule book that the fucking warden gave you? Then you're done. Remember that.